People always say you never really know your neighbors. I didn't think much of it until I met Adam. I moved into my apartment a little over a year ago. It was a small, rundown complex in a quiet suburb, a stepping stone until I could afford something better. Most of the tenants were older folks or families who kept to themselves, but there was one exception: Adam, the guy in 4B. At first, I barely noticed him. He was the type of person who blended into the background. A lanky guy in his mid-30s with unkempt brown hair and glasses that always seemed smudged. He kept odd hours and carried himself with a strange, subdued energy. If we passed each other in the hallway, he'd give me a nod and a mumbled, "Hello?" Polite but distant. The first red flag came in the form of a smell. It was faint at first, just a hint of something sour and metallic that wafted through the hallway near Adam's door. At first, I thought it was garbage. Our building wasn't exactly known for cleanliness, but as weeks went by, the smell grew stronger, sharper, and harder to ignore. I asked our landlord about it. "Probably the plumbing," he said with a shrug. "Old pipes, nothing to worry about." But it didn't smell like plumbing. It smelled like something had died. Around the same time, I started hearing noises late at night, odd rhythmic thuds coming from Adam's apartment. Sometimes it sounded like heavy furniture being dragged across the floor. Other times it was more subtle, like the muffled clinking of metal against metal. I told myself it was none of my business. People have weird hobbies, I thought. Maybe he was into woodworking or some obscure kind of art. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. One night, I ran into Adam in the hallway. He was carrying a large black garbage bag, and the smell was so strong it made my stomach churn. His face was pale, and there was a sheen of sweat on his forehead. "Hey," I said, trying to mask my discomfort. "What's that smell?" He gave me a thin smile, his eyes not quite meeting mine. "Just some bad meat I forgot in the fridge," he said, his voice flat. "Figured I'd throw it out before it got worse." I nodded, though my gut told me he was lying. As he walked past me, I couldn't help but notice the way the bag sagged, as if whatever was inside was heavier than meat. A week later, I was woken up by a frantic knocking at my door. It was Sarah, another tenant from down the hall. She looked panicked. "Have you seen Angela?" she asked, referring to her roommate. "She's been missing since yesterday." I hadn't, but my mind immediately went to Adam. I didn't have any proof, just a gnawing suspicion that made my skin crawl. When Angela's disappearance became public, the police started canvassing the building. I told them about the smell, the noises, and the garbage bag. They took note but didn't seem overly concerned. "People go missing all the time," they said. "It doesn't mean foul play." But then the smell got worse, so bad that even the landlord couldn't ignore it. He finally called someone to check the plumbing in Adam's apartment. I wasn't home when they broke down Adam's door, but I heard about it later from Sarah. The maintenance guy went in first and came out pale as a ghost. The cops were called immediately. Inside, they found what they later described as a makeshift workshop. There was a table covered in bloodstains, saws, knives, and other tools arranged in chilling precision. Freezers lined one wall, their contents too horrific to comprehend. Angela was in there, or at least parts of her were. And she wasn't the only one. The police found remains belonging to at least 3 other victims, all meticulously dismembered and preserved. Adam was arrested without incident. When they led him out in handcuffs, he looked eerily calm, as if the weight of his secret had finally been lifted. The media dubbed him the suburban butcher, and his story dominated the news for weeks. He claimed he killed out of curiosity. He wanted to see what made people tick, he said, like we were machines instead of human beings. The details of his crimes were too grotesque to repeat, but they haunted me for months. Even now, I can't believe how close I was to him. To that. I shared walls with a monster and didn't even realize it. Sometimes I still hear the rhythmic thuds in my dreams, and I wake up drenched in sweat. Say you never really know your neighbors. After Adam, I don't think I'll ever trust anyone again. Hey there, brave souls. Are you ready to dive into the darkest corners of the human mind and spine-chilling tales that will keep you up at night? Subscribe now to The Midnight Pulse, where every story will leave you questioning the shadows in your room. From real-life nightmares to sinister secrets, we bring you the most terrifying tales you'll ever hear. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because you never know when the next story will haunt your feed. Don't listen alone, unless you're ready to face your fears.